America faces a looming electricity crunch. For decades, our power demand was pretty flat. It was generally expected to grow at around 1% per year because of the growth in EVs. But in the past year, the needs of data centers have really taken off. This is the revolution in artificial intelligence. AI needs enormous computing power. Estimates of how much extra power we'll need have been moving up at a rapid clip. Virginia has added 75 data centers in the past 5 years. Instead of 1% annual growth, we're going to need at least 3%. This is going to create several challenges. One is that solar and wind won't be able to meet that new demand. This is good if you're a natural gas investor like us, because it's going to need more use of this cleanest burning fossil fuel in power generation. But it's going to extend the grid's reliance on traditional energy for longer than thought. We also have a big challenge adding transmission lines. This is especially important for renewables because they have what engineers call low energy density. This means they take up a lot of space compared with coal, gas, or nuclear plants. Because solar and wind need a lot of space, they tend to be in unpopulated areas. They require long-distance transmission lines to move the power they generate to customers. Utilities are investing a lot of money in new transmission. But the odd thing is that we add less every year. The Cardinal Hickory Creek Transmission Project is a good example.
Look at this line. This was built back in the 50s, 60s. The analogy would be this is a two-lane highway. And because it's a lower voltage, the wires are smaller. And we're going to replace an old two-lane highway from point A to point B with a major four-lane interstate highway up there. So we'll be able to move a lot more electrons.
After more than a decade of planning and construction, it's almost done. And yet 3 groups of environmentalists managed to get a judge to pause plans to build across a Mississippi River wildlife refuge. This had already been approved by the relevant government agencies. But in America, you can still try your luck in court and get permits rescinded, just the same way the Mountain Valley gas pipeline was delayed for years.
Rob Danielson runs one of the organizations that's mounted the legal challenge that's holding up the project's completion. He says building a new line is a danger to local wildlife.
I found feathers, 5 feathers. Today I usually find more than that. I've found carcasses of birds. The birds simply do not know how to negotiate the transmission lines. And this is one that has been here for 75 years. The new one would be larger and have more wires on it and add a new obstruction. Songbirds, raptors, waterfowl, you name it. They're all gonna come up this river, fly hopefully around that 161 kV transmission line and work their way to points north.
I'm not necessarily in favor of building big, ugly pylons in a wildlife refuge. I can sympathize with the opponents, but the problem is this was approved long ago and the money's been spent to get it 99% done. This is why we're spending lots of money on transmission lines but not seeing much get done. It's a huge problem for solar and wind because if they can't get their output to customers, they're no use to anyone. We're seeing less capacity buffer during peak summer demand, and our electricity prices are going up because as we add solar and wind, we're adding expense. No matter what climate extremists say, this is what's actually happening. We'll see how this all plays out, but power demand is rising at a time when we're finding it harder to add transmission lines. Solar and wind are reducing every grid's summer capacity buffer and raising prices. It may be worth it to reduce CO2 emissions, but the problem is that policymakers aren't being honest with the American people about where the energy transition is going. If you're interested in learning more about the energy sector and interest rates, then don't forget to subscribe and follow us on LinkedIn and Twitter. Our handles are in the description box below. To find out more about what we're thinking, you can sign up for our twice-weekly blog at sl-advisors.com. We always love to hear from you, so if you have any comments or blog ideas, please leave them down below. I'm Simon Lack. Thank you for watching this video.